This is the second lecture for Place, and today we're going to be talking about retailing and wholesaling, particularly some of the roles that they do. We'll look at the different types of retailers, the different types of wholesalers, and explain some of the decisions that they have with their own marketing mixes. Now, let's look at, first of all, let's start with retailing. So any person or business that sells directly to the final consumer, and it's for the final consumer's consumption. They're not going to turn around and take the product and resell it. And so we classify retailers based on the services that they offer, the pricing that they take, the approach to the pricing, as well as the product assortment that they have. So let's begin by looking at something called an assortment. Again, that's the sort of amount of products that they have available for sale. And we talk about assortment in two different terms. We talk about the breadth of assortment and the depth of assortment. So breadth would be the different product lines. So if you think about the example I have here, I have lawnmowers, gardening tools, furniture, and sort of the more different types of product categories I have, the broader the product assortment I have. Then we have depth, which is the sort of amount of variety or assortment within a particular product category. So if I have lawnmowers and I only have, sort of push lawnmowers, that's a very limited depth. But if I offer push lawnmowers, ride-on lawnmowers, electric lawnmowers, and different sizes, then I'm starting to get, a great depth. And also different manufacturers, I've got a great depth. So we tend to think about retailers in terms of what the assortment is. How broad is it? How deep is it? What sort of variety am I offering to my customers? So let's begin to look at some of the different types of retailers. The first are what we consider conventional. These are single line retailers, and this sort of stems back into the early days of retailing when we had furniture stores and they only sold clothing and sort of men's clothes and women's clothes, and we didn't have big department stores. We had single line. They sold in essence sort of one specialized line of products. They tend to be sort of narrow in that they just, for example, focus on furniture, but quite deep in terms of the assortment. And you can get limited line, which is even more narrow or more specialized. The example I have here is Scandinavian furniture. Again, it's a different type of furniture or a very specialized part of furniture, but a very deep line. These companies usually don't compete on price because it's really the sort of assortment and the specializations, although companies like Leon's would be considered single line furniture warehouse, and they do specialize on price, and they offer a moderate level of services and credit and delivery. Now let's look when we expand the assortment and expand the services. So the first is the department store. Okay, very broad and quite deep in assortment, just about something for everybody. The old sort of Eaton's and Simpsons and the Bay. They tend to avoid price competition, and they offer a wide variety of services. So credit, delivery, convenient locations, checkouts. So again, expanded services and expanded assortment. Specialty stores offer a sort of an expanded assortment in that it's very deep. So if you take a store like HMV, which offers CDs or records, and it's narrow in that it only offers CDs, but the depth is incredible. So that's quite the assortment that it has. And again, they avoid price competition. Sort of expanded services would be the advice that their people would give. Category killers are again companies that offer a very deep assortment. So for example, Toys R Us is what's called a big box or category killer. They try to sort of dominate the toy industry by offering sort of just about every toy going. So an incredible deep assortment of toys. They tend to have low prices. That's sort of where the killer comes in, and few services. Now let's start to think about, again, an expanded assortment, but let's start to reduce the services. Okay, a way of defining them by reduced services. So discount stores have, again, sort of a reasonable assortment. It's fairly broad, yet perhaps a little more shallow than a department store, but here they're emphasizing low price and less services. There's less convenient checkouts. There's maybe just a checkout at the door, and they charge for delivery or don't offer any delivery at all. So the example here would be, say, Harrods or Dollar Store. Mass merchandisers, which are large discounters, are similar but just on a bigger scale, like Zellers. Supermarkets like Sobeys or Loblaws, Superstore, Provigo. Catalog showrooms like Lee Valley Tools, superstores like Walmart, and they're called superstores because they sell sort of a broad assortment of seasonal products and groceries and automotive products, wares, and finally warehouse clubs like Price Clubs. Again, limited amount of services, maybe not delivery, maybe not credit cards, it may be sort of cash only. These are sort of reduced to some extent in terms of the services. Now, franchising is sort of one very common way that there's a control on the distribution channel as well as a way of retailing. And so there's all sorts of examples of franchising in the food industry, but there are franchises in sort of the travel industry, also even janitorial services like Jani-King is one of the most successful franchisers. And so in the retail business, many of these stores are franchises, particularly clothing stores. And so it offers a real advantage to the entrepreneur in that they get a turnkey business. There is some brand equity and awareness built up about the store already. They have national support and promotions that they can take advantage of. There is a buying organization that's behind them. There is perhaps national advertising that is done for them. And so a lot of the sort of risk is really minimal. Some of the disadvantages are that you get what you pay for. If the franchise is not run very well or the advertising isn't very good, that will affect you. If there are problems in head office, that might affect you as well. And so you're only sort of as good as a franchisor. But they're a way of retailing, and for some franchise systems, they are extremely successful, a great way of expanding the business. So from a retailer's perspective, again, they think about the same sort of marketing strategy and marketing mix. They have target markets that they go after, and they'll sort of define it the same way, and they'll sort of position their stores as, we're the most convenient, or we offer the best specialized service, or we offer the most variety, or the lowest prices, whatever it is. They will try to position their store, and if they are a franchisee, then the positioning of the franchise will help do that for them. But for them, their product and service assortment is what really is their product. That really sort of helps define their marketing mix. They also think about prices and promotion and places their location. Now, moving on to wholesale, this is where the sale is not to the final consumer. So it's being used for other businesses that will turn around and sell it, or being used in the ordinary running of the business. The companies will consume those products, but it's not going to the final consumer. Generally, a lot of the wholesale transactions are involved in moving the product through the distribution channel. So they'll buy it and turn around and resell it. Wholesalers tend to represent manufacturers. They might sort of pool their products in an assortment that appeals to retailers, so that intermediary wholesaler will gather a product assortment from different manufacturers and then make it attractive to retailers, who will then make it attractive, who will be attractive to final consumers. It's much more efficient than having manufacturers deal with individual retailers, and you'll see wholesale transactions in all sorts of different areas, from the typical retailers, but restaurants, hospitals, manufacturers, farms, dentists, building contractors, all those are examples of wholesale transactions.